The Minnesota Golden Gophers are going to be going over some overhaul heading into 2023. A longtime quarterback is gone, a star running back is gone, among numerous names on the defensive side of the ball. However, PJ Fleck and company really know how to get the ship moving as Minnesota's going to be rowing the boat into 2023, trying to chase a Big Ten West title. Is the boat going to be rowing all the way to Indianapolis for Minnesota, or will the Golden Gophers have a struggle year this upcoming season? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm previewing and predicting all 133 college football FBS level teams. And guys, that means I'm doing your favorite team. So why don't you guys go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded, but you can do more than that to help support my channel. You're already doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and really anything else you guys can think of to help support my channel because, well, whatever you guys do would just mean a lot to me. So, getting into Minnesota here in 2023, another team in the wide open Big Ten West. Going to be an interesting year to watch the Golden Gophers as the season progresses. Hey, how do preview predictions work around here? We take a look at a roster preview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in by way of the transfer portal and recruiting class. And then we're going to take a look at the 2023 Golden Gopher football schedule and give it a good old game-by-game preview and predictions. So, ladies and gentlemen, here are your 2023 Minnesota Golden Gophers. Starting out with the quarterback room, I teased it a little bit in my intro, but there will be a new quarterback this year. Well, kind of. So you do lose Tanner Morgan, and last year was still the leading passer, 1,382 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Over the course of his career, ever since that phenomenal 2019 year, he's just been on a steady decline, was not putting up numbers like he did that monstrous season that PJ Fleck and the Golden Gophers had in 2019. However, I probably will say this name wrong, so Minnesota fans, feel free to correct me in the comment section down below, but Anthony Kaliakmanis, again, apologies for any mispronunciations I say throughout this video, but Anthony Kaliakmanis had a lot of time last year, threw 111 passes, and well, the results are kind of indifferent. Did throw for 946 yards, average of 8.5 yards per pass, which is about what Tanner Morgan averaged last year, but did it with 54% completion, 3 touchdowns, and 4 picks. So I think a lot of this offense is going to rely on whether or not Anthony Kaliakmanis, my apologies, is going to develop, and how does he progress for this team. That's going to be a big thing to watch, but I think he's got all the necessary talent there. I think Kaliakmanis is a very underrated, if not really good option for Minnesota coming into 2023. In the running back room, some overhaul here as well as you lose a star in Mohamed Ibrahim, 320 carries, 1,665 yards, and 20 touchdowns, was one of, if not the best running back in America last season. He's gone, as well as you're losing Trey Potts, who's moved on to another program. You're going to return your third leading rusher. Second leading rusher was Trey Potts. So your third leading rusher, Bryce Williams, will return, 249 yards, 3 touchdowns for him last year, as well as getting a transfer coming over by way of Western Michigan in Sean Tyler, a 3-star rated transfer according to 24/7. Wide receiver room, Mike Brown-Stevens and Dylan Wright. A couple names you'll see gone, your third and fourth leading receivers from last season, but you're going to return Daniel Jackson, who was your top receiver last year, 37 catches, 557 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and Chris Ottman-Bell, been dealing with some injuries as of late in his career. Hopefully he's fully healthy and ready to go for Minnesota in 2023, and then some more transfers coming in. Some more transfers coming in. Corey Crooms is another transfer coming over by way of Western Michigan, 3-star rated transfer, and Elijah Spencer comes over as well by way of Charlotte. He's a 4-star rated transfer according to 24/7, as well as getting your tight end back in Brevin Spanford, who led the team with 42 receptions last year and was second on the team with 497 yards, did have 2 receiving touchdowns on the year as well. So now, they're probably not going to be able to fully replace Mohamed Ibrahim. That's just a nearly impossible task. But if Anthony Kaliakmanis can really develop and really show us that he is a top-tier level quarterback, or maybe not even that, maybe just a really good quarterback, this Minnesota offense could be pretty good in 2023. Along the offensive line, you do lose a lot of great players, most notably John Michael Schmitz, but also Axel Rushmeyer. I believe I said the last name right, but again, I apologize if I didn't. And Chuck Filiaga. You're going to return some names. Now, I know I will butcher this one. Ariante Ursary and Quinn Carroll return on the offensive line. Defensive line, you don't really lose a ton here. Trill Carter is gone off of this team. Did have 19 tackles, sack and a half to his name last season, but a lot of talent does come back on this defensive line. Kyler Baugh, Danny Strigo, and Jalen Logan Redding, among some other names that are not on this board. Now, in the defensive back seven is where you really start to see some talent leave. Mariano Sori-Marin was your leading tackler last season. He is gone, as well as Thomas Rush, Donald Willis, and Braylon Oliver. Some really good options in the linebacker room are gone off of this Minnesota team. But you do get your second leading tackler back in Cody Lindenberg. Derek LeCaptain, what a name that is, should be there up front in the linebacking group as well. And then Ryan Selig, a transfer from, you guessed it, Western Michigan, comes over, 3-star rated transfer according to 24/7. In the defensive back group, again, a lot of talented players. Jordan Howden is gone. 5 passes defended, 2 interceptions, was your third leading tackler. Terrell Smith had 5 passes defended, 2 interceptions as well, was your sixth. Yeah, 6th leading tackler. Had to double check that. Michael Dixon, Beanie Bishop, some really good players leaving there as well. However, you do return Tyler Newman, who had 3 passes defended and 4 interceptions last year, and Justin Wally, who had 3 picks for this team last year, and those are your 4th and 5th leading tacklers from last season. And you get a transfer coming over from, no, not Western Michigan this time. It's by way of Southeastern Louisiana by the name of Jack Henderson. I think it's going to be a really good defense for Minnesota here in 2023. Your head coach is PJ Fleck, your offensive coordinator Greg Harbaugh, and your defensive coordinator is Joe Rossi. As now we take a look at the Golden Gophers' schedule for 2023. Any game underlined is going to be a home game. Any game in italics for the slanted text is a game on the road. Any game that I highlight in green is a game that I see Minnesota being able to win easily. Anything in yellow is, okay, the other team's going to put up a fight, or this is going to be a really close game, but Minnesota still walks away with the dub at the end of the day. And red, of course, is a loss. So week 1, Minnesota, they get Nebraska. Nebraska is a very, very interesting team this upcoming season. Again, it's just disappointing year after disappointing year. Now Matt Rule comes in, and he's got a lot of talent to work with. He's brought in his staff. He's brought in his guys through the transfer portal. Has gotten a lot of good recruits, and there's a lot of nice talent already set at Nebraska, but I think it's going to take maybe a year or two for Nebraska to really get the boat moving under Matt Rule. I don't know why I spaced on the name. I said it a second ago. So Nebraska has all the talent in the world to be competitive with anybody they play on their schedule in 2023. But with this game being at home, week 1 for Minnesota, I see Minnesota being able to pull that win out and start out 1-0. And they should start out 2-0 with the easy win there against Eastern Michigan. Again, if they're able to get past the Cornhuskers, that game being played on Thursday to open the season, by the way. Then you get a really, really tricky game here on the road against North Carolina. Now, North Carolina is losing a lot of good pieces. However, they return one of the top quarterbacks, if not the top quarterback. You definitely could make the case for that in Drake May. Actually, I can't say the top because Caleb Williams is there, but one of the top returning quarterbacks, heck, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, period, in Drake May. He's still got some good weapons to work with in the wide receiver group. And I think this North Carolina team, especially offensively, I think it's going to be a little bit too dynamic for this Minnesota defense to handle. And that's why I got the Tar Heels being able to beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers and hand the Gophers their first loss of 2023. However, Minnesota should get a couple nice bounce-back games here with Northwestern. I don't see this team being much of competitive. However, I do think that they're going to be able to give Minnesota a little bit of a fight here in this game. Again, it's a game you could highlight in green as well, though. Wouldn't have a problem with that. Then Minnesota should be able to get a win against the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana. Back to Northwestern for a second. Don't count out Pat Fitzgerald. Just don't do it. Never do it. So Northwestern can definitely put up a fight and surprise a lot of people from their abysmal year last year, but Minnesota, I think, will be able to win that game. And then you get a game here against Michigan right before your bye week, and I do think Minnesota's going to end up losing this game. Yes, they get it at home. I think Minnesota's got a good enough defense to stay competitive with it, but Michigan, I think, is just going to be too physical. And Minnesota lost a lot of that physicality from last season, especially on the offensive line, and with Mo Ibrahim being gone as well. You lose a very, very powerful rusher in Mo Ibrahim, and again, a lot of strength and power on that offensive line as well. So I think Michigan quite simply is going to be able to overpower. I think they have the better roster. They have the better talent. Overall, they are the better team. I think Michigan will walk in to Minnesota and hand the Golden Gophers a loss, and then you get your bye week before a tricky road game on the road against Iowa. Now, we all know the story with Iowa this year. That offense was abysmal last season, but they got a lot of nice pieces through the portal to help revamp it, right? Cade McNamara is coming in. Eric All could be a really good performer at tight end for them, and the defense, I think, is still going to live up the standard there for Iowa, and if that offense takes massive leaps and bounds forward, Iowa could be a top 15, if not top 10 football team going into 2023. So Iowa, especially defensively, I think they're a lot better than Minnesota. And while the offense might not be quite up to Minnesota's level, I think the Hawkeyes are going to make a lot of defensive stops in this game, and I think they're going to be able to beat the Golden Gophers. So now Minnesota gets a game against Michigan State after losing 2 in a row. And I think this is a very nice spot to bounce back and get a win here. Again, a lot of questions for me with the Michigan State Spartans. Who ends up playing quarterback for them? Who ends up stepping up in place of Keon Coleman? And while they have some good pieces there in the defense, I think Minnesota is the better team and will get that win done at the end of the day. Their offense will of course, make a lot of good plays, and Mel Tucker's got a lot to prove after an abysmal last season. Illinois is another interesting game here. Illinois, of course, loses a lot in the secondary, but I have good faith in what they have back there. Brett Bielema's system, you also lose an all-American caliber running back in Chase Brown, much like what Minnesota's going through right now. But they get a massive upgrade at quarterback with Luke Altmaier. I think these defenses are pretty comparable. They both lose a lot in respective areas, but I still think both are going to be really, really good. This game, for me, really could bounce either way, but I leaned with home field advantage, and I'm picking Minnesota. I also got them beating Purdue as well. Purdue has got a lot of caliber to, I think, be a pretty solid team, a team that can surprise people. Hudson Card is coming in at quarterback, but besides that, you lose a lot of talent, and I think Minnesota's going to go on the road and get that win here. Then you got a road game against Ohio State, and this, I think, is just going to be a tough game for the Gophers to win. Ohio State's got one of the best, if not the best, offense in the entire nation, and that defense, while it has been poor the past couple of seasons last year, it did take some massive steps forward, and a lot of fans around the world, especially Buckeye fans, expect that defense to make another huge improvement forward. I think the Buckeyes are just too talented. The game's being played in Columbus. I think Minnesota's going to drop that one. And then you get the rivalry game against Wisconsin. This is a game I was going back and forth on for quite some time, and I definitely just feel like Wisconsin is going to drop a game that they shouldn't. And again, I talked about that in my Wisconsin video, but there's going to be a lot to play for Wisconsin here, especially if they live up to standard. Maybe they only have one loss to Ohio State coming in here. But PJ Fleck has had good success with Wisconsin in some recent years. And Wisconsin may very well overall be the better team, but I feel like Minnesota defensively, offensively, I think they're going to make enough plays here to go ahead and win this game out. And especially defensively, I like what Minnesota has. Wisconsin's got a really good defense themselves, but again, I just feel like Wisconsin going on the road, I think it's going to be a tough environment for them, and I see Minnesota being able to pull off the win in the rivalry game, which leads me to an 8-4 record. Maybe a little bit of a surprise to some of you. I think 7-5 is also very possible. They could drop that game to Wisconsin there as well, but I think Minnesota is going to be a pretty solid football team coming in to 2023. So there you have it. My Golden Gopher predictions are done for the 2023 season. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, do anything else you can think of to help support the channel. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.